Space, the final frontier.
Whether it's a man cave, she shed, or office, L&K Buildings and Trailer Sales has your space. The perfect portable building just for you. L&K Buildings and Trailer Sales is a premier building authorized dealer. You tired of paying high storage fees, lack of security, and not having easy access to your stuff? Then L&K has the building just for you. Or if you're looking for a mini home or the perfect hunting cabin, L&K has the building that will convert perfectly. Free delivery up to 50 miles. No credit checks and low monthly payments. Call L&K today at 706-858-0077. 706-858-0077. On Facebook, search L&K Buildings and Trailer Sales. 3532 Lakeview Drive, Rossville, Georgia. L&K's featured storage unit this month is a center cabin 12x32, featuring 15% off. L&K Buildings and Trailer Sales. Call 706-858-0077.
I'm the dude. You know, that or his dudeness, duder, or El Duderino, if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Cougar Radio 92.7. Good morning, family. It's your girl Marie Mott. Y'all know what it is. I'm taking it from the streets to City Hall to the mayor's office. Can't leave out the police department. From the Valley Low to the mountaintop, give you guys the bird's eye view to what's going on here in the city of Chattanooga. Good morning. Good morning, folks. Good morning, family. I got to do y'all like I do on my Facebook Live. Come on in here, family, because that's what we are. We're family. It's your girl Marie Mott with the Marie Mott Show. Super excited that the Lord saw fit to touch me this morning and wake me up. I'm here, as always, fighting for the people. And today it's a lot to talk about. And, you know, the last couple of months I've dedicated time in my show to talk about rape culture, the different parts of rape culture. Because when you talk about rape, molestation, the things that happen to women, men, and even our babies, you got to break it apart. Because rape, molestation, sexual battery, there's a million things to talk about. We've covered consent, coming from the religious South and being in the Bible Belt. We have talked about purity and how that the church, the culture within the church often encourages rape culture. And so I have, and to protect this beautiful woman's identity, her pen name is Liv Hall. And so I decided a couple of weeks ago that today's show dedicated to rape culture was going to be about triggers and PTSD. I know that once again, molestation, rape has been propelled to the forefront of American conversation because of R. Kelly. But I think it's very, very important to understand that we have a problem, and it's not just nationwide. It's not just citywide. It's even statewide. For just a few days ago, 2 days ago, we had at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, UTK, has identified Phi Gamma Delta, the fraternity where 2 females reported they were drugged and sexually assaulted at the end of November. And so, people, it's so real out here. Rape culture is so real that even our children who are going off, leaving home, trying to get an education, have the capacity to just try to, let's be honest, go back to your school days. College is rough. It's a lot. It's very fast paced, so much information, so many things to learn. Sometimes you're homesick if you go to school away from home. If you're an introvert like me, it's difficult for you to make friends, and it's easy to get overwhelmed with crowds of people and all of this action going on. It's nothing like high school. It's a different world when you go to college. And so, you want to party, right? Occasionally, you want to go out, you want to do something, right? To take your mind off of studying and midterms and finals and pressure and how much it costs to go to school, right? And so what a situation it must be for the parents of these women, the family of these women, the students who know these women, that they would just go to a party and they would be drugged and sexually assaulted. And often because when we have these conversations, we often don't allow women to sit at the table in mass media to talk about the realities of these things. We really don't allow often the victims, give them an opportunity, and society is just so cruel where we don't encourage people to come forward. We don't offer people a community level of support. And so my goal is not just to talk about these things, but my ultimate goal is to continue to ask Liv questions from the perspective of someone who's gone through these things. How can community and people begin to change to where we can help those who have endured such atrocities to not give up, to not commit suicide, to not feel like there is no future for them because of what happened to them? And so 423-800-8949 if you want to call in and chop it up with me today. But triggers and PTSD, rape culture. So the first question that I asked Liv was, we know the impact of the atrocious acts of rape or molestation don't end with just the acts. What are triggers that make victims relive their horrific experiences? Her answer was, a trigger is something that is read, seen, smelled, felt, or heard that causes distress, typically as a result of arousing feelings or memories associated with a particular traumatic experience. Triggers for victims can be anything. Being triggered is an individual experience as individual as the act itself. For me personally, reading sentences in which the word rape is used is triggering. When Brett Kavanaugh's victims came forward, seeing the headlines was incredibly triggering. According to the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, during the Christine Blasey Ford's testimony, calls to the hotline increased by 147%. One factor that makes victims more inclined to feeling triggered is whether they received justice. Is their abuser still walking the streets? Being in a situation similar to their abuse can have a triggering effect. Hearing names in conversations can cause flashbacks. Certain smells, such as cologne or laundry detergent, can be triggering. If a victim was tied up during their assault, wearing bracelets, necklaces, or even scarves may cause feelings of panic. Drinking alcohol or using drugs, illegal or prescribed, may cause a triggering effect if the victim was assaulted by the use of a substance. If the assault happened on a holiday, that may be triggering and could cause depression around that same time every year. Nightmares are one of the worst triggers because you are unconscious and cannot escape them. For some victims, being touched or standing too closely to people has a triggering effect that makes them feel unsafe. Additionally, engaging in sexual activity can cause a victim to feel triggered. Being triggered by intimacy may last for years after the assault or abuse. Talking about being raped or molested and sharing your own story can be incredibly triggering, probably the most because you are revisiting those painful memories. You know, first of all, I appreciate Liv breaking it down like this because I don't think we understand, right? In particular, how our brains work. You know, there's a certain smell I can remember in particular that brings me back to particular points in my childhood. Like if somebody fries fish, my grandmother had a practice of frying fish every Friday without fail. Every Friday, my grandmother and my aunt were going to fry fish, fries, and hush puppies with coleslaw. Come on. White bread and hot sauce. So if I smell fish, now this could be somebody in the community. I'm going to buy a fish plate from a business. But 9 times out of 10, my brain, without me asking it, is automatically going to go back. Because the brain is like a computer. It has information that it stores and recalls at its own will. You don't ask your brain to do it. Just like you don't tell your brain, make my lungs breathe, make my heart beat, make my feet walk, make my eyes blink. Your brain does that. You don't do any of that. Your brain does that all on its own. So I think it was very important, and I'm so appreciative that she broke it down this way, that you got to understand it is the everyday small things for women, men, and children who have gone through these acts of atrocity. It can be small things like laundry detergent. I know we talk about cologne, but laundry detergent. So the smell of Tide or Gain can be a trigger. A bracelet. So you thinking that you're going to buy this young lady a bracelet and she balls out crying and she doesn't want it. And it's not because she's not appreciative, but because she's triggered, because she remembers that somebody tied her up and And if you guys want, again, if you guys want a copy of this, I can shoot this to you. My email is mariemott@gmail.com. There's some additional information in this that I won't have time to say on the air. But if you would like a copy of this, email me at mariemott@gmail.com, and I would gladly forward this to you. My second question to her was, when you find yourself triggered in public or private, how do you feel? What does it take to console you after a trigger? And her answer was, when I feel triggered, even after years of therapy, and this is important, even after years of therapy and counseling, I feel small, both inside and out. My heart rate increases. My breaths become shallow. My body temperature rises. My head hurts. My stomach hurts. I begin to experience the fight or flight response to the situation. In the past, I had severe panic attacks, for which I took medication on a daily basis. It has taken years of self-awareness, education, mental health classes, one-on-one counseling sections, writing my feelings out, and talking to friends to learn how to cope with the effects of PTSD. The biggest trigger for me is meeting my rapist on a weekly basis to drop off and pick up my daughter. So this particular woman was raped and became pregnant, and she chose to keep her child, who now she has to share custody with her rapist. I have been instructed by attorneys to engage in friendly banter and co-parenting discussions because it is in my daughter's best interest. Each time I am triggered, I stand in front of him, look at his face, hearing his voice, smelling him, and watching his body move. I think about what he did to me and has continued to do to me emotionally. I think about all the other girls he has hurt, the ones he held down, the one he grabbed by the hair. I think about all these things. Then I kiss my daughter and I walk away. On the hardest days, my stomach hurts and it doesn't stop for days and days. I have nightmares. I silently cry myself to sleep. It has been 4 years, 6 months, and 7 days. My wife has been here every day, every step. I share my feelings with her. She has been my safe haven from feeling emotionally mutilated on a weekly basis for almost half a decade. There are some types of pain in life that cannot truly be consoled. They must be survived with delicate They must be survived with delicate and severe dedication. Let me read those last two lines again. There are some types of pain in life that cannot truly be consoled. They must be survived with delicate and severe dedication. So here I am as a community member who's never gone through any atrocities like this in my life, thinking and asking a question from the perspective of sincerely wanting to help women, men, and children who have gone through things like this, thinking that there is a possibility and a way to console people who have gone through these things. And in reading this, the more I'm reading, again, this is the second time I'm reading this. The more I read over and over these words, I see that, and this is what society has to understand, is that, you know, it's just like losing a person you love. You never really get over it. You just learn how to live. You know, I'm never going to get over missing my grandmothers. They fed me. They talked to me. They prayed for me. They told me stories. They raised me. They loved me. They showed me how to cook and showed me how to clean and showed me how to love family, and how it gave me lessons on how to take care of a man. And even though I'm religious and I love God and I love people and I love them, and I believe that one day on that great getting up morning, I'm going to see them again, my life is still never going to be the same. And so I'm never going to get over missing Mary Ruth and Betty Joe. You learn how to survive. And the sad part is unless we do the real work of digging through issues and talking about stuff like this, we don't even help people do that. What we do is sensationalize. And again, I got to use a Jan Levanson's line that she had on Sway in the Morning, is that we got to stop prostituting people's pain. We got to stop that. We got to stop prostituting people's pain in the media, in church, in community, on the radio, on social media, in conversation, at work. We got to stop prostituting people's pain. And until you understand what folks are going through, meaning that you've sat down with somebody or you've heard somebody talk about it, don't speak on other people's pain. Because it's easy to sit and give opinions. I got to quote Harlan Ellison. Nobody cares about your opinion. You're not entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your educated opinion, for nobody is entitled to be ignorant. And a lot of us are just ignorant of the very lives and experiences of people because we rather give opinions and commentary than sit down and ask questions and learn really what people are going through. Man, I got to read that again. There are some types of pain in life that cannot truly be consoled. They must be survived with delicate and severe dedication. Meaning that it's going to take a lot of work. This lady said she went through therapy, writing things down, mental health classes, self-awareness, education, talking to friends. You know, at one point, took medication. You see, people don't just wake up and get over stuff. Even for grief, there's 5 stages to working through your grief process. And if you just don't get over grief, and really even at the end of grief, the end of it is not that things change. It's just acceptance of what happens or acceptance of what has happened. It's not even maybe that the situation changes, but you accept the reality and the gravity of what has already happened and transpired. And so, family, as we wind down on this first part of the segment, I want you to understand something. We have a responsibility. We say this is the modern era, and hopefully we're learning more things, and we have the opportunity to learn more things than we ever could have possibly learned before. And now more than ever, the world is diverse. So we have the capacity to meet and talk to all kinds of people from all kinds of lives and experiences and backgrounds and languages and cultures, which gives us the ability to have insight into lives and places that we've never been. And so as we stay tuned, and I hope that you'll stay tuned for the second half of the segment as we continue to have a discussion with Liv about triggers and PTSD with rape culture. And we understand that we have a problem, and that problem has bled all over society, from college campuses to the workplace, to the music industry, to the movie industry, to church, to government. Y'all know what it is. Marine Mott with Marine Mott Show. Rape cultures, triggers, PTSD. Stay tuned for the second half of the segment when we pick back up with questions with Liv Hall.
Chattanooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
There was a massive bust with dozens arrested in what the U.S. Marshal Service calls Operation Triple Beam. They say they closed 130 separate warrants and arrested several high-profile suspects, including Dominique Collins, who was briefly on the TBI's top 10 most wanted list. 2 people were arrested after a car chase in Saudi Daisy. Reports say the driver, Donovan Upton, refused to stop. They chased him for about 6 miles before his car crashed. Reports say they found a felony amount of methamphetamine inside the vehicle. Passenger Jennifer Nisnik also arrested. Former teacher in Murray County, Tad Cummins, is the subject of a huge manhunt last year. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison yesterday. His victim, a teenager, said that she was held against her will for 38 days. She said in court that he should get 1 year for every day of her imprisonment. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
By now, you'd normally hear a kicker intro bed and me telling you why you need to buy a car or truck. This is not that ad. I want to share with you the great experience that we've had at Z Motors. When Nooga Radio was looking for a Hummer, I went to Z Motors. They have over 100 vehicles on the lot, and Phil was happy to spend all the time necessary with me to point me in the right direction. If you're looking for a Jeep Wrangler, hey, you'll find more Jeep Wranglers there than anywhere in Chattanooga. Pre-owned cars, a slew of Audis, BMWs, from a 1934 Ford truck to a 2017 Volt, a Volkswagen Jetta, and a 2018 Tundra. Plus, they can find any vehicle you're looking for. You're not going to find a big fancy showroom. See, those costs that the big dealerships are added to your purchase price. You want to call Philip at 423-240-8869. That's 240-8869. On Facebook, just search Philip Clark Sales Manager for Z Motors. It's Philip Clark Sales Manager for Z Motors. Z Motors. They're right on the corner of Hickory Valley and Shelford Road, in front of Chattanooga Wine and Spirits. And don't forget to say hi to Rhonda, the pretty McCall at the front desk.
MLS 2239. We will beat any national mortgage company's rate. All day, every day, guaranteed. I'm Ben Phillips, and a financial analyst acted upon that statement and called his local mortgage company, Home Rate Mortgage, to buy his dream home. We close the loan in 23 days, while the national guys, they usually close in 40. Home Rate Mortgage is your local mortgage company in Tennessee. Again, Home Rate Mortgage will give you the best rate all day, every day, guaranteed. So let this story be your story and call Home Rate Mortgage today. 805-9100, and there's no cost and no obligation. So why wouldn't you call 805-9100 or homeratemortgage.com?
Turn a house into a home rate mortgage.
Where can you find exotic surroundings, fine dining, and a taste of Italy tucked away in Chattanooga? On Highway 58, you'll find Portobello's. They serve up food just like Mama used to make, but without the extra helping of guilt. Portobello's has fresh, homemade pasta and signature dishes sure to please, bringing you back for more. Just like Mama, the folks at Portobello's are always happy to see you and always happy to meet your friends. Call ahead for delicious takeout or just show up for their amazing Portobello's menu. Portobello'sChattanooga.com. Chattanooga's home for the finest Italian food.
Areas of rain will continue to move in for your afternoon. Wet and cool out there. Highs will struggle to hit 45 tonight. A few lingering showers, some fog and drizzle. Lows lower 40s. For Friday, a drier day. Still some leftover clouds. Highs mid-50s with more rain returning Saturday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily. Locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm Sorenstein 12. She's meteorologist at your 4.
The radio 92.7.
Some people, the only thing they talk about is success. I know plenty of people who the world would say are successful, but on the inside, they're empty. I know plenty of people who talk about drive. Yeah. They talk about a whole lot of stuff. What does it mean to be successful in life? Have all these things and money in the bank and the big house and the big car, as if at the end of the day, you ain't happy. And at the end of the day, when you've gone through traumatic things, you don't have anybody you can depend on or talk to. One of the things that I continue to hear as feedback from survivors, the reason that they have created their own lanes, and I'm so appreciative of seeing people, and sometimes this is exactly what it takes. The world refuses to hear you. So you just say, to hell with it. I'll just create my own lane and start my own conversations. And in particular, I've seen Wes Carr do that. Shout out to Wes Carr and the Victoria Carr Foundation. Shout out to Keosha Brewster with Survivor Sessions. Make sure you guys check that out. Follow her, follow Wes Carr, and follow Keosha Brewster, who last year, out of her own pain, decided to have what she called a loud walk, encouraging victims to stop being silent and to take power in their voices and their stories and to tell it. Shout out to the people who, even if the world refuses to hear you, you shout anyway. And when people say, I got to keep saying it because by now it's just so funny. There will be no disruptions. Understand, there is no change without disruptions. There's no change. How do you know that a baby is alive? When it moves. Y'all, I know the mama's got a kick out of that. You know your baby is alive and growing. You know the baby, the more it moves, the more, I was that type of baby. I was banging on my mama's kidneys, drumming on her kidneys and everything. I was a troublemaker even in the womb. So people talk about no more disruptions. Nothing changes without disruption. Nothing, nothing. And yes, I wanted to say that Joel, he put on my personal feed that's going on with the live stream that he appreciates me saying that men are survivors too, and men are. I can't have this conversation just with women because there are boys who get molested. There are men who are raped. This does happen to men too. There are men who have endured these things personally as well. And we have to have these conversations because it's not just pockets of people. It's not just a few people here and a few people there. Quite the contrary. The last time we had a discussion about this, the reality is that the majority of rapes never even get reported. They never even get reported because people just don't believe that justice is within their reach. And that's a sad day in America when we feel like there's no solution to our problems. There's no way of moving forward. And at the end of the day, nobody cares about what happens to us. Even the court systems don't care about what happened to us. So the only way we're going to change that is if we do start disrupting the society and saying, hey, this is happening to men, women, and children, and we got to figure out how to stop people from doing these acts and getting away with these things. And like UTK suspending the chapter, it ain't enough. Suspending Phi Gamma Delta ain't enough. If this is true, and it's true until it's proven otherwise. That's why when we say believe survivors, that's what we mean. It's true until otherwise. It's true until you show me otherwise. I believe women, I believe men, and I believe children until I see evidence otherwise. Suspending a chapter for drugging and sexually assaulting women at a party, at college. Women, fragile, delicate creatures. My Lord, is this why people don't come forward? Because often in society, in particular for male perpetrators, all they get is slaps on the wrist. That's it. That's the most that happens to them. And the more affluent they are, the more they can get away with. Question number 3. Some people act like triggers aren't real. I had to do this for the non-believers. Some people act like triggers aren't real and victims are just, because I've heard this said a million times that makes me want to choke the life out of people. Victims are just overreacting or wanting attention. What would you say to those who believe triggers aren't real or downplay them? I had to do it one time for the haters, for the non-believers. So here's what Liv has to say. What would I say to those who believe triggers aren't real? You're lucky. You're lucky that you have never been put in this situation and don't have to face the effects of sexual trauma every day of your life. If you cannot understand what someone is going through, keep your mouth shut and your ears open. Judging someone for something of which you are uneducated and uninformed does no good for anyone. Be kind. Be kind. Be kind. Listen. Educate yourself. Oh, we got somebody calling in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Talk to the people.
Hey, Marie. I'm an Uber driver. When I was driving up there, I picked up some students from their grad students, and they mentioned to me that there was a student there that developed a fingernail polish that would turn colors in a drink if the drink was drugged. So it was serious enough for a student, grad student, or undergrad student to do the research and figure out a fingernail polish that would do that to help out other students there.
Wow.
So it might, that's from when I was driving up there. I was shocked to even hear that. I said, that kind of tells you something just for that student to go through that effort.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, caller, for your comments. I appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. All right.
Y'all hear that? It's so real out here that students can't even focus on doing their homework. They got to develop solutions. They got to develop solutions because it's so real on college campuses and maybe more prevalent than we would like to admit that people get raped when they go to school. That they had to develop nail polish so they can be able to identify drinks that are drugged. Wow. 423-800-8949 if you want to call and talk to me. Judging someone of something which you are uneducated and uninformed does no good for anyone. Be kind, listen, educate yourself. Learn about the effects of PTSD and rape trauma syndrome. Ignorance is no excuse to cut someone down and turn your back to their struggles. Liv, you better talk. You better talk. You better preach. Ignorance. So, in a way, I'm ignorant of I've never been sexually molested. So I have a responsibility that just because it doesn't happen to me, doesn't mean that it ain't happened to somebody I may know or love or care about, or someone in the community. And if I don't educate myself, again, this is a self-responsibility. Y'all know I'm all about accountability and responsibility, right? And if I can give it to politicians, then I got to give it to the people too. That's only fair. So we have a responsibility on our own to do our own homework, because we never know who we're going to meet in life that may have gone through these things. And we can't turn our back on people and cut people down because we don't know. Guess what you can do? Pick up a book, read an article, look at survivor stories and interviews, learn, be kind, listen, shut your mouth. You have there's a saying, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so you can listen twice as much as you talk. PTSD is like being crippled emotionally. No one can see your injury or disability, but it is so real to you. There are no black and white X-ray results to prove how fractured you are. Whew. Man, come through, Liv. You are preaching today. Does society exacerbate? This is question number 4. Does society exacerbate PTSD for rape victims? If so, how? Answer, absolutely. How? By not understanding what constitutes rape and how it truly affects victims' lives. Society expects victims to show up on time, to perform at their best, to leave their feelings at home, and to function aside from trauma that changes who they are and how they fit into the world. The collective mass of society does not understand what PTSD is and how it changes someone's life. Therefore, the vast majority of individuals cannot comprehend why a person suffering from a trauma cannot, quote unquote, get it together and fulfill their obligations. Whew. Rape is theft of a sense of safety. Wow. Rape is theft of a sense of safety. According to the National Institute of Justice, approximately 85 to 90% of sexual assaults reported by college women are perpetrators by the known by the victim. Most of us have been taught that rape happens in a back alley by someone we don't know because you were drunk and dressed inappropriately. That is a lie. That is a lie. Let me say it again for the people in the back. That is a lie. Society exacerbates PTSD for rape victims by placing the blame on them for being raped and holding their recovery to unhealthy requirements while giving a slap on the wrist. Just talked about it. A slap on the wrist or a few $100s worth of fines to their rapists. This is an epidemic. You know, when I talk about, and I only did one video about R. Kelly because molestation, raping is bigger than one man, truth be told, from societal standards of the past and even how they struggle and bleed into the future. In a lot of instances, people, if we really be true about our society, the ways and how we communicate have changed, but people haven't changed too much. Racism is alive because people haven't changed too much. Sexism is alive because men haven't changed too much. Come on. Xenophobia is alive. Homophobia is alive because people haven't learned to love people no matter who they are, what they do, which is none of your business anyway. The avenues and how we communicate have changed, but people really, if we took a mirror and shine it on the inside of our souls, we ain't changed too much. We're still just as hateful and as ignorant as ever. And the only thing that I would say about this society is, in this day and time, in some instances, I can kind of work with my grandfathers and people of that age. I can work with my grandmothers. I can work with people of that generation. They didn't have a whole lot of choices. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Talk to the people.
Marie, even though I'm going to be on the air in a few minutes, you always stimulate me to want to call. And I agree with you. And here's my question. And I'm not going to talk about this on my show, but what is it that the Catholic Church can get away with what they gotten away with? And I was reared Catholic, where there was massive cover-ups and boy rapists from these priests. And if any other entity or organization was so covertly involved in this, they would not only be closed down, their assets would be confiscated, and they would be in prison. So, and I don't want to taint any one religion. And as I said, I was reared Catholic. But, why is it that they can get away with this baloney, and the people put up with priests having sexual intercourse with little boys, molesting little boys, and then covering it up and the state turning their head? And once in a while, getting a conviction just to make it look good, and the parishioners tolerating it. I mean, I really want to know this. I know you're not supposed to talk politics and religion, but that's what we do.
Yeah, that's what
we do.
And
I want one Catholic to call me and tell me, why do you still? I don't go to church anymore. I don't go to Catholic church because I think it's the church of Satan. And maybe I shouldn't say that, but you know what? You are what you do. You know what? You're an air talent. If you rape, you're a rapist. If your church covers up rape, they're the rape church, the church of Satan. So please, a Catholic, call me and tell me why you still fund Catholicism and the culture of rape in that church. Thank you.
No problem. So for those who said that they couldn't hear, the caller asked, why is the Catholic Church in particular getting away with molesting boys? I would enlarge the question because this doesn't just happen in the Catholic Church. This happens in the evangelical church is also guilty, which that can encompass just about everything in Christianity in the United States of America. I mean, we can nail it down to several things. Patriarchy, the fact of in church, often there is a dominance of men in church. I mean, growing up in the African-American church, women are the majority of the congregation, yet men dominate the hierarchy in church. So patriarchy, the fact that church is built with hierarchies, right? That it has hierarchies. The fact that church has purity culture, which is which is preached like this abstinence thing. Abstinence, like, let's be like, what, man. I want to finish the questions, but it's so many things that could really, besides people's just blatant tolerance of the fact that we have been indoctrinated in Christianity, period, that Jesus Christ is going to fix all our problems. We don't have to do nothing here. All we do is wait and sit by the wayside and watch everything that happens. And if we went around the church 3 times, or if we tied large enough, then God's going to fix all our problems. And the word that I have read states that you can't love a guy you've never seen if you don't love your brother. And if you have problems with your brother, then he questions the love that you have for a guy you've never even seen. So the fact that I think most people don't even read in between the covers to even understand how to have a relationship with people. And I think for people's own personal gain and their behaviors, because we are indoctrinated from a societal standpoint to want to be at the top of hierarchies, that we will do any and everything, sell our mamas and our children down the river, our neighborhoods down the river, people we love down the river, to have anything in proximity to wealth, fame, fortune, popularity, or power. Yeah. That's how I can answer that. Last question before we close out. How can community, and in particular family and spouses, immediately give aid to those dealing with triggers and PTSD? Believe us. The answer is believe us. Believe us. Be patient. Listen to us when we don't speak. Listen for our silence. Look for us when we don't show up. Let us talk. Let us cry. Defend us when we try and fail. Speak. Speak out against sexual abuse. Become an advocate. Show up and support us when we need it the most. The best way to help someone dealing with PTSD is to love them and try to understand where they're coming from. Don't be skeptical of what we're going through. My mother has been one of my biggest advocates through this. She has stood by my side and helped me pick up the pieces of my life without judgment. Acceptance without judgment means caring for somebody and understanding their pain. One of the biggest issues for victims is being close to the people who do not understand what they're going through and who hold them to impossible standards without evaluating their personal roadblocks. Additionally, suffering from PTSD causes difficulties in maintaining current relationships and staying connected to family, friends, and community. For some of us, leaving our homes, answering the phone, or responding to the outside world increases our anxiety and stress levels. It is pivotal for the world to understand that for a rape victim, trust in humanity has been taken, and that makes life much harder and more lonely. For us, solitude is the safety we create for ourselves. Whew. What a show today. Thank you, Liv. You are crushing it, baby. And again, for the people interested, if you want to talk to her, get some information, peopleforjustice@yahoo.com. Again, that's peopleforjustice@yahoo.com. I look forward to having more conversations about rape culture. Y'all know what it is. Marie Mott with the Marie Mott Show. If no one has taken the time today to tell you that they love you, I love you, guess what? There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. See you guys back tomorrow on the Marie Mott Show.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
The TVA blasting continues today on Raccoon Mountain. They're setting off explosive charges to help the removal of old cables. The blasting will take place from 9 to noon today and tomorrow. The noise will be heard through the downtown and surrounding areas. They called it Operation Triple Beam. It was a multi-month law enforcement operation that led to the